Okay. Hello. I'm Astrid, and this is my mom. If it will focus. Come on. Might have to move. You might have to speak.
Hello?
You might. I don't know.
It's
It's just gonna be me, I guess. Oh. The infamous mother. You're quite infamous in our class. Yeah. She said that you should teach a parenting class. So we'll see how good you really are. I was just lying. Okay. So this is my communication final podcast. So yeah, we're going to go over, I'm going to explain to you the methods that I thought were helpful and talk about what I want to work on in the future. So I realized that I'm doing a lot better than I thought because of this class, like not just in terms of grades, but like in interpersonal communication anywhere. Because I didn't know how to explain the techniques, so I thought that I wasn't doing them, but I was. I just didn't know how to name them, sort of a thing. And now that I have named them, I was like, oh yeah, I do that. I just didn't think that was a technique. So I was like, I don't know any techniques, but I did. So yeah, it was, I think I noticed some deficiencies a long time ago and tried to fix them then, which I think have worked to some extent. Because when I was a child, I struggled a lot, and I liked those Victorian etiquette books that, described what are some common topics for conversation starters, like fashion, the weather, work, animals, children, family, like those sort of things that are sort of universal. And so that really helped, and I liked those books, and I think those books were helpful. Because I wanted to be a princess, but even in my daily life, I was like, oh yeah, in the book it said you have to be nice to the teacher because she's of a higher status than you, so I have to be nice to the teacher. So I sort of knew what to do,
Yeah. Cool.
So the 3 topics from class that I want to go over and teach you are the 4 horsemen of communication. Clearly not great at that part. The error method / apologies in general, and the aggressive to assertive technique or pipeline. The 4 horsemen of communication are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And so that's like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but for communication. And to fix or help those, criticism is combated by I statements instead of you statements. Contempt is combated with respect, defensiveness with responsibility, and stonewalling with taking a break and returning, which I feel like you did when you would put yourself in timeout when I was little, because we were both upset, and you would put yourself in timeout.
Yep. Sometimes you have to step away from the situation and just regroup.
Yeah. And I think it also it made me realize that you had respect for me almost, because I was usually before that.
Not almost.
Well, it was just it was like you could pretend that you liked me. No, I mean before you started doing that, I was always the one in timeout. It was just me. And so right. I was like, you're the boss and I'm just the child and I have to listen to whatever you do. But when you started also putting yourself in timeout, I felt more like we were equals, like I was allowed to have an opinion, and that we were together, sort of. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just a me versus you.
Or it wasn't a child versus adult thing.
Yeah.
It was everybody does this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was really helpful.
But what about some examples of the other 3?
Criticism, contempt, and defensiveness. I think I am very defensive. I think I sometimes have good reason to be. And then I get defensive because I'm defensive. So I'm like, I'm not being defensive. you're being defensive. But I feel like I've tried to do I statements, respect, responsibility. I found the I statements, I've been doing those for a while, because when I was like 12, there were all these like relationship podcasts on YouTube that was like watching the movie Up and psychoanalyzing their relationship. And I really liked those. And that they talked about I statements because they were like professional psychologists.
Yeah, that's a really good tactic for communicating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've tried to do that, and I think I have. So that's all I can think of for those three. So the error method is for apologies. It's like a system of making a good apology, which is empathy, responsibility, reason, and offer reassurance, which I didn't realize before this, but that's like my perfect apology that I always try to explain to people and they don't understand. But now I have like a Googleable thing that they can look up to understand better, you know?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if it's something small, I don't mind just like oh, sorry. But if it's like you just like smacked the crap out of me doing something that I told you not to do and being like, oops, isn't really going to cut it for me.
Yeah.
Like I need a little bit more like,
Sorry.
yeah. I need a little bit more like, I'm so sorry that I did that. I totally understand why you said that now. I didn't think that was going to happen. I'm going to take more steps to listen to you and try not to do things like that again. Mm-hmm. You know, like I feel like that's more like change is actually going to happen and it rebuilds trust more. And then the other thing that we talked about was apologies and forgiveness don't make you a better person or admit guilt or something like that, because sometimes like people think if you apologize, it means that you're guilty, or if you forgive someone who did something bad, it means you're the better person, which I don't think is true.
Yeah.
And also like being okay with not forgiving somebody. Like, thank you for apologizing. I really appreciate that. I'm really upset. I'm going to need like a minute.
Yeah.
Which was something that I did do when I was younger. I have a very distinct memory of sitting on one of those ugly blue plastic chairs outside because somebody had kicked a soccer ball at my face. And they came over and apologized. And I was like, thank you for apologizing, like crying. And then I was like, I don't forgive you. Like, I need some space. And they're like, okay.
Yeah. You can't say that.
But then I came back like 10 minutes later and I was like, okay, I'm feeling better and I forgive you now. But it was helpful to sort of take that weight off of me, instead of trying to like not only comfort myself but comfort them. Like, oh, it's okay. No, you just broke my arm. I'm okay. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. 'Cause I knew some people who did that, like who got hurt and then were like, it's fine. No, it's not.
Yeah.
And then the third one is aggressive to assertive, which I feel like I also had an issue with. And I think this is the one that I have to work on the most out of these three, which is that I went from having like no self-confidence, not standing up for myself, to overcorrecting and going to overly assertive, and then having to reel back and go back to assertive and not aggressive. And I think it was because, like, I had, like, very little respect for myself. So I was like, everybody's right. I'm wrong. This is my fault. And then people would be like, no, it's not your fault. And I was like, okay, I've never done anything wrong in my whole life. And so you have to step back and be like, I've done some things wrong, but I don't deserve to have my boundaries broken here, you know? Which I feel like is a big thing that a lot of people are still working on, myself included, is like having enough respect for yourself that you don't get stepped on, but respecting others enough that you're not stepping on someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is also why I kind of hate pranks. That's sort of the reason why I hate like mean pranks. Like, I pull down my girlfriend's pants in public. Like, why would you do that? It's just mean. Like, you don't have respect for her. And I think that's a big part of that sort of culture, or online culture of like embarrassing people. Hate that. But yeah. And then the things that I want to work on going forward are not oversharing as much, or like not saying every thought that comes to mind, which is one of the big ones that I sort of struggle with. I was watching Interstellar, and the robot had its honesty at 100%, and everybody was like, you're going to have to turn it down. And so it turned it down to 90%, and it was like sort of a running joke, but I was like, oh, that's smart. Like, turning down, like, it's not like you're lying.
Yeah.
You're just not
saying every thought that is the truth.
Yes. Is your truth.
Is your truth, yeah.
I hate that saying, but it is accurate. Speak your truth.
Yep.
But like, some things may not be, it may be true to how you feel, but it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it. But those are the things that I want to work on, and the 3 methods, the 4 horsemen of communication, the error method, and the being aggressive to assertive, turning aggressiveness into assertiveness.
Good. Sounds good.
Okay. That's it.